Hey guys, welcome back to Appalachia Cemetery hunting. Today we're still in Jefferson County, Tennessee, and we're in downtown Dandridge. Beautiful little city. Did you know that Dandridge is the second oldest town in Tennessee? It was established in 1793, so no wonder we're finding so much history. So let's get started. Okay, like I said, we are in downtown Dandridge, and we're at the Harris Cemetery, and it's located there in Dandridge. In fact, it's the street it's called, that it's on is called the Graveyard Alley, and this is because the Dandridge Revolutionary War Graveyard is less than a block away, and you remember we did that cemetery just a few weeks ago. Lots of history in there. So the map shows that Dandridge is located south of the Interstate 40 on the shores of Douglas Lake. The earliest burial that we could find was 1858. So, like I said, you know it's going to be an old one. And there's only 35 people buried here. So let's get started. Let's see who we can find. So get your pencil and your paper ready, you ancestor hunters. And let's see who we got. First, we got John Haynes, 1829 to 1864. Clarence Eugene Harris, 1867 to 1925. Eliza G. Harris, born and died October the 10th of 1867. Frederick S. Harris, 1869 to 1893. George Temple Harris, 1893 to 1948. Hal Sheridan Harris, 1865 to 1927. Got a picture of him, and we could find out anything about him, but we know he was a vice president of a local bank. So if you guys know anything else, let me know. And next we got his wife Nina Harris, 1873 to 1955. We got a photo of her too. Look at that. We got Harriet Melinda Inman Harris, 1824 to 1891, and her husband William Harris, 1814 to 1884. And you'll notice that their monuments look the same, and they both have urns on top. The urn is a symbol for concealment of the natural changes to the body after death, and it also represents the barrier of ignorance about the changes to the life of the spirit after death. So if you know anything about carvings on headstones, there's something to remember on that one. So that's pretty interesting. Now we have an infant son of the Harris family, born and died April the 26th of 1870. We have James Alexander Harris, 1861 to 1901, and he was a doctor. We have his wife, Lula Holtzinger Harris, 1863 to 1928. Forgive me if I butchered that name. Now we have Margaret Adeline Jarnigan Harris. They called her Murdy, 1829 to 1913, with her husband Temple Harris, 1827 to 1892. And Temple was a longtime businessman in the area. Now we have Margaret Melzina Elliott Harris. They called her Zena, 1846 to 1909, with her husband William Franklin Harris, 1840 to 1870. And his grave marker is a ledger stone, if you know what that is. Look at that. Mary C. Lillard Harris, 1868 to 1941. Sally E. Harris, 1846 to 1907. And her husband, Shadrach Temple Harris, 1842 to 1923. And they share the same obelisk. Now, his was conscripted by the Confederate Army against his wishes and later deserted. Rebel forces later captured him in 1863 and put him in irons for 25 months, waiting for his execution. Wow. Shadrach's colonel wrote Confederate President Jefferson Davis requesting a stay of execution, and it was granted. Thank goodness for that. Later, Shadrach served as a captain in the Company D of the 3rd Tennessee Cavalry in the Union Army. Of course, the Union Army, after they've shackled him for 25 months. Guess I would too. And we're thinking this photo here was taken right after the war. And here's a picture later in life. That's pretty cool. Now we have Sarah Inman Harris, 1845 to 1858. Sarah L. Harris, 1840 to 1858. Oh, that's weird. 2 Sarah Harrises died in 1858. That's sad. Tipton Jarnigan Harris, known as Tippy, and he was born in April of 1860 and died the following December. And he was only 8 months old when he passed. Oh, breaks my heart. We have William Harris. He was born in 1878, but we don't have a death date for him. However, we do know he was an infant when he died, so that could have been born and died date. I'm not sure. Now we have Addie Juanita Harris Holtzinger. They called her Nita, 1874 to 1965. Her husband Samuel McCampbell Holtzinger, 1876 to 1954. J. Flora Lyle, 1880 to 1963. James Nathaniel Lyle, known as Nate, 1843 to 1881. And you'll notice on his headstone, it has the emblem of the Oddfellows that's been carved on there. And we have a picture of him taken during the Civil War. That's interesting. James served as an assistant surgeon in Company D of the 3rd Tennessee Cavalry and in the 6th Tennessee Mounted Infantry during the war. We can only imagine the horrors that he saw while trying to save soldiers' lives after a battle. You know, I mean, you see it on TV. They just cut limbs, saw them off, throw them out the window. I mean, it was brutal. Bless his heart. Moving along, we've got his wife, Lavina Elizabeth Harris Lyle. They called her Eliza, 1848 to 1898. Mary E. Molly Fox Lyle, 1879 to 1897. Nina A. Miller, and she was born in December of 1875, and 2 years later in 1877, the little darling just passed away. That's so heartbreaking. Albert Sidney Ragsdale, 1862 to 1921. And Albert, we know, was born in Georgia. Next we have his wife, Otelia Gertrude Harris Ragsdale, 1870 to 1928. Now is Rebecca Eleanor Harris Reeves. They called her Nola, 1854 to 1911. Amanda Josephine Harris Russell, called her Josie, 1852 to 1889. And her headstone has an urn on top, and what it looks like is lilies on the face of it. That's really pretty. And the last person that we're going to look at is Josie's infant son, who was born on April the 2nd of 1876 and died on April the 9th of 1876. So he only lived for 7 days. Now that's going to finish our look at this small cemetery. And like I said, it's in downtown Dandridge. And for a small cemetery, they usually have quite a bit of history in them. The Harris family, that's a really good bit of history. I know that I have gotten emails and messages from people telling me a little bit more history from our last video, the Taylor Cemetery, and that was really interesting. And I hope you guys don't, just go ahead and text me, email me, whatever. I'm on Facebook. Find me. You can find me or Greg. Just let us know more about these people. I mean, it fascinates me, the history in these little cemeteries. But if you get a chance, you don't know where Dandridge is, find it. It's gorgeous. Little country town. You'll love it. You'll love to be there. So please hit the share and subscribe. And I about got tongue-tied on that one. We sure do appreciate it. Welcome all of our new friends. And we will see you next week with another video. Hopefully. God willing. God bless. Bye-bye.